tell us a little bit about Echo Point Nova. That's an interesting little project you got.
Yeah, it came out of. So it was kind of funny. I finished Shepherd's Steel and I started to like mess with my next game, and it originally started off as like an open world RPG. Like I'm always trying to like my end goal, like my ultimate game is one day like an open world RPG, like in like the Elder Scrolls vein. But every time I start it, I get like 10% into it, and I'm like, oh jeez, this is insane. Like what am I doing? Like solo developing this game. It's so stupid.
Yeah,
but
I remember what was the very first one that was on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, you can even see years ago.
Yeah.
It was called Greylock, and I always do that every few years. I start with Greylock, which is like my ultimate RPG, and I always get a little bit into it. I'm like, it's too much, and then I cut a lot of features back. So like the first time I did that, I ended up making Severed Steel. So I got a little far, and I'm like, okay, maybe I should make a first-person shooter instead. So after I finished Severed Steel, I'm like, all right, like I'm a game dev now. I've launched the game. It's time to make the Bethesda game. And I got a few months into it. And I'm like, geez, like I'm still not ready yet. But I think I am ready to make. It's not an open world like RPG with like villages and NPCs wandering around. Like I think I am ready to make an open world game. But with Severed Steel's like tight-paced combat format. So that was the birth of Echo Point Nova, where I made it far enough to my open world RPG where I had like a functional world, but then I took that world and I put fast-paced shooter mechanics into it, and that resulted in what you see now. So it's like kind of like an open world Severed Steel.
Now, are the gameplay mechanics the same as Severed Steel, or are there changes to it, or?
It's interesting. There's a lot of parallels, but there's a lot of changes. So like Severed Steel Severed Steel's main moveset was you could slide and you could dive. Those were like the two main like you could obviously run around like any other first-person shooter game, but you could also slide and dive like a kick slide. So for this, I kind of swapped it out. The slide is instead it's like a hoverboard now. So when you press shift, a hoverboard appears in you. So that's like it's like an amped up version of slide. And then the dive is now a grapple.
Interesting.
So it's like the same. It's like I took those old moves and I tried to make them more versatile for the open world and for like bigger traversal. Plus, everyone wanted to grapple it in Severed Steel. It's like a constant request. So like, I couldn't make it work in Severed Steel, but I'm like, okay, maybe my next game will have a grapple.
Yeah, I wonder how that would work. So is Echo Point Nova still voxel based? Because I was wondering how that would work with voxel or with fully destructible voxel, if like a grappling hook would pull the wall down with it, like if it would be able to know the difference.
So it's funny that you mentioned that. I've messed with all sorts of versions of grappling hook. In one version, it did when you hit the wall, you destroy part of the wall, and surprisingly, people didn't like that. And I can't remember why, but I thought it was super cool. And then I gave it to friends to test, and I think it just messed with them. Like when they grapple, they wanted to move. Like they didn't want the world to change. Like they wanted like changing the world to be a separate thing. So now you just grapple just pulls you towards objects. I'm messing with like what happens when you grapple up an enemy though, and I'm messing now with when you grapple an enemy, you can pull them. But what happens sometimes is you're like falling and you want to grapple onto a platform. You shoot a grapple, but it hits the enemy instead. So then you both just fall into the abyss, and then it's like it's not what I wanted. So I'm messing with it now. I might make it so grappling enemies is optional. I'm I'm playing with that now.
So, are you still planning on doing the entire game by yourself, or are you bringing in? Because I know you brought in people for some of the. Well, you brought in people for the music, and some of the designs. And I know that the guns were marketplace, right? For Severed Steel?
It's an awfully similar team to Severed Steel. I mean, the same guy on music, Floating Door. And one of the same guys on levels, Sea Hunger, he helped me design. So Severed Steel had a big campaign extension pack a few months after launch. So someone who helped me build that expansion pack is working on the levels for this. And Adam, who helped me with some of the UI design, Severed Steel is also back for this. So like, it's a lot of my little help. I don't want to say like, I'm proud to be like an indie dev, and I'm proud that I've worked on this project a lot, but there's definitely like people who are like crucial to the success. Levels and music are super important.
Yeah, you can.
So some of those guys are coming back.
I have some things that I want to throw out real quick.
Sure.
Co-op is definitely something I appreciate because not a lot of games do co-op as often as. Like, co-op used to be big in the 2010s. Almost every game had co-op. Right? And as somebody who, I'm not super into hyper-competitive multiplayer shooters. They're fun to play every now and again. But sometimes I just want to kick back with friends and just play something chill, like Borderlands or the Halo games together. And then Halo also ties into the grappling hook mechanic, because the new Halo game, Master Chief has a grappling hook.
Yes.
And the thing is, he's a big dude with a suit of armor that weighs a lot. But you can grapple onto a grunt, and no matter what, you always go towards the thing you grapple. The thing that you grapple never comes towards you. And so one way to fix what you said that I can think of is just like having a toggle. Right? You press one button to bring to you, or one button that brings you to it. So you always have the choice.
Mm-hmm. So you always know what to expect if you know which button you pressed.
Mm-hmm.
Infinite was, so the infinite grappling hook was, I thought that grapple hook felt super intuitive.
It was so much fun.
Yeah, you learned, like, it took like a second to learn. So I messed with that one a lot in figuring out this one. But sure, I feel like co-op, it's such a rare feature now. And when it is, so I think when a game has co-op now, it's like front and center. It's like, it's like you're Back for Blood, or you're like Destiny, or it's like if you're not playing co-op, the game sucks. But
yeah, it's like one of the core things.
Exactly.
I hate that about modern co-op games.
Yeah, but back in the day, like I feel like it used to be like co-op was like just a fun thing on the side. Anyways, the way I'm designing this is ideally like it is. The focus is like a cohesive single player experience, but then there's like co-op is like a bonus. Like if you want to play with friends, like you can play it with friends. So I'm not doing any of like the forced like Left 4 Dead, which I love, has all sorts of forced co-op mechanics, like all the different guys who can grab you, and then your character just like flops around until like your friend like rescues you. Like I'm trying to avoid all mechanics like that. Co-op's just like a fun bonus. It's not like essential.
So with that in mind, you mentioned this would be open world. So is it going to be like open world without? I think there's a technical word for it, but bungee cording. Whenever you get too far away from your partner, like it pulls you closer.
Yeah.
Or is it going to just be massive levels that feel open world, kind of like the Tomb Raider games?
So I'm avoiding bungee cording as much as possible. I haven't had to do it yet. The way it's worked so far is the whole world's open. You can go every player can go wherever you want. But when you want to start, like there's certain like key combat like I guess missions or quests. And to do a quest, you all have to like get together and stand at like the quest start point, and then the quest starts. And the reason is because it's a technical reason, because like the quest battles, there's just so many enemies, and with destruction, there's so much destruction going on. You can't have players like wandering on the other side of the world while like the host server is trying to like run all the CPU processes it needs for the quest thing. So the only time players are forced to go together is to like start quests. But other than that, they can wander around just as they want.
Okay, so it's kind of like Dead Island 2's co-op, where the main objectives, you all need to be together to do it, right?
Okay, I haven't played Dead Island 2 bit.
Really?
Yeah.
No. It's a good game. But yeah, no,
I don't think
that's
you're
how they
missing
do
much.
I mean, it's so the Dead Island 2 is not like a deep philosophical story like Red Dead Redemption 2 that's going to change your worldview and make you feel emotions. It's just fun to run around and kill zombies.
Yeah, but it's got that aspect where, like, Ryan and I played the whole entire campaign together. You're locked into your own, like, map of the bigger map, but you're able to be on one side of the map while your buddy is on the other side.
Yeah.
But the only way to continue the story is you both have to come together to an objective point.
Yeah, and a nice quality of life thing with that is that you can just press a button and teleport directly to the player who's already at the objective, so you don't have to run all the way there.
Yeah. Yeah, so one thing I'm trying to design to avoid is I hate the feeling of being in a co-op game and being the person who's like dragging the team down. Like,
yeah.
It's like you go down and then like the zombies are swarming you and your friend's on the mic like, oh geez, you're down again, and then like they have to go rescue you and then they all die rescuing you, and then the end over screen comes up and everyone just kind of knows it was your fault. Like I'm trying to
that slow.
yeah, exactly. So I'm trying to make it like a really like low stress combat. Like yeah, you can, if you want, you can fast travel to any friend you want. If there's no like down, like if you go down, your friends don't have to rescue you. Like if you die, you just respawn at the last fast travel point. Like I'm really trying to avoid the feeling of being like a shitty player. Yeah, so hopefully that works. There's a demo next month, by the way. So all these ideas I'm saying, I have no idea if people will like them or not. We'll see next month if people like them.
I've actually just been scrolling through your Twitter, looking at all the little clips that you have uploaded here.
Cool.
The movement of it's kind of reminding me of like Get to the Orange Door, where it's like you want to get from one point to the other as quick as possible for that game specifically, but it's always like hyper movement that you have. Because I'm looking at one clip here where it looks like you're sliding across with the hoverboard and you come up and you just kick a guy in the head.
Yes. That was a beloved clip.
Yeah. I love the movement style of it. It looks really good.
Thank you. Yes, tons of time, late nights, just like there's so many variables to tweak for movement, and just like alt tab, tweak a variable, alt tab back, see how it feels. It's just like hours and hours of that, just so it feels like really satisfying.
Can you slow down time similar to Severed Steel did?
So Severed, yeah, you can slow down time. In Severed Steel, you had tons of bullet time. And it was bound to like right mouse button by default. So like whenever you wanted bullet time, it was right there for as long as you wanted. But I don't, in co-op, that might be really frustrating if your friend is just like always spamming this bullet time. So what I'm trying to do is some enemies, when you kill them, they drop little lightning bolts. And if you collect enough lightning bolts, you can trigger like a little 3-second slowdown window. And my idea is that is enough so your friends won't get annoyed about you spamming slow motion. That's a big part of the test next month. I don't know how players are gonna feel about that. I don't mind it. And so far, my friends who have played it don't mind it. But I don't know how like the masses will respond to because it's weird when bullet time triggers and you didn't trigger it.
Yeah.
So it's going to take testing.
What would be an interesting concept, I don't know if this is workable, but if it would be like isolated to a small area, similar to how, not that Jedi Survivor is by any means co-op, but whenever you, I forget the stance it is, but R3, L3, and you like slow down around you to get 1 or 2 hits in, and then everything speeds up, but it seems like it does it in a sphere.
Mm-hmm.
If that would be something possible where it just slows you down in that area.
Mm-hmm.
So it would only activate for your buddy if they're in that sphere type of thing.
Yeah. Localized slow-mo might be the solution. It's gonna take experimenting. Figure out what stresses people at the least.
Even if it's like an add-on option later on, that might be an interesting concept.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I have a question about that idea.
Sure.
Because, like, let's say your friend was in that bubble of slow motion, would the enemies also be moving slow in that bubble for you, even though you didn't trigger bullet time?
Yeah, I think it would.
So
it would slow
cause, like,
everything down. It would slow everything in the sphere down. Is my idea, but I don't know how to do any.
But if the other player's outside of the sphere and they're going fast pace and they turn a corner and everybody's just moving in super slow motion, that would be a little weird.
Well, I mean, if it's similar to how Survivor did it, it would be like everything in that sphere, like it shows like a dome around it. So it would be obvious, like, hey, this is
the slow motion zone. Yeah.
Once again, I don't do game dev, so I have no idea how hard that is to implement.
No, I just played a lot of games, so I can just think of ways that it would be a little weird.
Yeah, it's just one of the. I think I might have to try different things. Like, one thing I've learned in game dev is just like you can think a feature works, but then you try it and players hate it. Or you think a feature's not gonna work, but then like players love it. So like I didn't like the game has a hoverboard, and I kind of tossed it in as like an afterthought a little bit, and then like my friends are playing it, and like the hoverboard's the best part. I'm like, what? Like I thought people would hate it, so now it's become like because their feedback has been elevated. So I found that I really don't know how a feature's gonna go until like people actually play it.
Yeah, wasn't it feedback? 6-axis control on Severed Steel that you weren't sure was going to work correctly, and then but it was could be thinking of something else, but I think it was someone from Reddit had recommended or had pitched the idea. And you're like, I don't think this is really going to work, and you put it in and it just blew everyone away. The flip, like you have a full 6-axis of control.
Yeah, a Reddit commenter suggested I let people flip. And I'm like, I guess I'll try it, and it became like a signature feature of the game. So thank you, Reddit commenter. Very nice of them.